Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kaya Heise. Tonight we are going to discuss the ISIS fighters' families, the wives and the children, and how nobody wants to have them back in their respective home countries. Our guest for tonight is historian and Arabist Pieter van Ostaeyen. And hello, Pieter, how are you?
Good evening, I'm doing fine, thank you very much.
Pieter, it's good to have you on the show, and I just want to ask, are we really talking about a crisis here? I mean, do these families deserve our pity?
Well, in general, I would say no, because we all know what ISIS did. They posted their material online for the last 4 years, and we all know the gruesome things that they have done. And we know for a fact that some of the people that now want to return actually have returned to Belgium for a short while and then even returned to the Islamic State. So for some, no, but in other cases, yes. And I would go with a case-by-case evaluation, actually. I would look into every single case individually before judging them all and saying that all of them have been doing the same things and all should be kept in jail and tried in Iraq or Syria.
And I mean, in terms of numbers, about how many people are we talking here, especially for Syria?
Well, if we look right now, in the Belgian case, I'm talking only about Belgians, and that's a very, very small part of the actual population that left. In total, a number of 422 people left. That's the official number. My number is slightly higher. We think that, or the official government numbers, they state that 142 of them have been killed in battle. At this point, it seems that there are two male foreign fighters, Tarek Shadaoun and Hamzan Mili, who are being held in Iraq. Tarek Shadaoun has been sentenced to death already. He's still waiting his execution. And we have a number of people in Syria, 17 women, eight foreign fighters, male foreign fighters, one minor foreign fighter, and a total of 31 children. So in total about 50 people or something. But that would leave us with more than 150 Belgian fighters that are unaccounted for, that are still somewhere out there on the battlefield. Maybe in Barros, we don't know. We don't have no clue where they are. They went up into thin air, they're gone.
And these women and these children, is this issue a big case in Belgium? How does the Belgian government approach it? Because there was a very interesting case about the government blocking a judge's order, which I think was about repatriation.
Yes. Well, basically the government, at first, the idea was we don't let anybody return. They made the choice out of free will. They left to the Islamic State. Now let's keep them there. We don't want them back. Then there were some documentaries here in Belgium when Rudy Franks, a very famous war journalist of Belgian national TV, went in El Haul and Roche camps.
These are the camps, yes.
Yes, and interviewed some of the Belgian women there. And then suddenly the government changed this idea again, and it should be okay for children under 10 to come back to Belgium. Then there was this case again where the Belgian government was ordered to pay a certain amount of money every day that both the children and the women were not repatriated to Belgium. But that was ruled against again, so now Belgium is returning to his old statement saying we already take the children back, but they're not actively doing anything to take these children back. It comes down to the fact that everybody who wants to leave Syria and wants to get back to Belgium will have to make his way or her way to, sorry for the disturbance.
No problem.
Will have to make its way back or her way back to Turkey or Iraq to visit the Belgian consulate or a Belgian embassy to deal with the necessary proceedings and hence be repatriated to Belgium. But there haven't been any real cases yet in my idea. 2 or 3 children have returned, that's true. But that's the only for now. And as I said, since 150 of them are still somewhere out there, it is possible that more Belgian fighters are being held by the Syrian Democratic Forces, but we simply don't know about it because they pretend to be someone else that we do not know. And
Peter, to come back to these women actually being part of ISIS, are there any cases of these women? Do we know that any of these really have participated in atrocities, have killed people, have supported the fighters?
Well, participated in the atrocities and killed people? No, we do not know. Of course, we do have suspicions that that might have happened, but we don't have any factual evidence in my idea, or at least not something I saw. That we know that they supported the fighters. Of course, we know that they supported the fighters. For example, Bushra Abu Alal, who is one of the women who is being currently detained by the SDF, when she went back to Syria, the first thing she did was post on Facebook that they will keep terrorizing Belgium and that Belgium was stupid and blah 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 and stuff like that. But basically, they were defying Belgium. They took a flight. They contacted the Foreign Affairs, asked them to get them back to Belgium because their husbands died. They were both pregnant at that time. They came back to Belgium, gave birth, and then they left again with their newborn babies. So you can wonder if these women are, how should I say, pure at heart, pure and are not lying, and now they are pretending to be really sorry. But for some cases, I really have my doubts about that.
And I mean, with regard to the Islamic population in Belgium or in Europe, how does it affect the local populace? These discussions about not taking them back, or I mean, the general approach.
It's not that much this issue that is affecting the Muslim population in Belgium. What affected the Muslim population in Belgium most is the fact that so many Belgians left and joined the Islamic State. And that the Islamic State basically tried to make believe everybody here that they're not part of Belgium and that they should join the Islamic State, stuff like that. The attacks go on. Ever since the Islamic State came into existence, we saw a sharp increase of, in my opinion, what can be called extreme right or far right opinions. Not only by media, but also by sometimes in seldom cases, luckily, but also sometimes by politicians. So the climate here right now, I would generally describe it as distrust between communities. And so basically what the Islamic State said was, we're going to eradicate the gray zone. There's either white, the Islamic State, or black,
the kuffar.
Yeah, the Dar al-Kufr. So basically it is what they created, and the dichotomy between the two has grown stronger ever since.
And I mean, are there any examples of successful repatriation in Europe or in the Middle East, in any other country that you know about?
Well, yes. Recently, the 3 children, or 2 or 3 children I talked about, they were repatriated from Turkey, if I'm not mistaken. Their mother is locked up in a detention camp in Syria, if I'm right, and their grandmother took the children to Turkey, and these children have been repatriated successfully. I have no idea what the current status is and how they are doing, but as far as I know, that would be the only case.
And I mean, every country, every European country is approaching its own problems, its own fighters one by one. Do you think there should be a concerted effort, like an EU approach or something like that?
No, yeah, definitely. If anything is needed now more than ever, it would be an international tribunal that not only judges ISIS fighters, but fighters from all other groups as well, including the regime, to look into the atrocities that have been going on in Syria since the last 8 years. But I think we're a bit late in organizing that right now, because basically it could take several years for the European countries or even international countries to agree upon a tribunal and to agree upon the penalties for fighters. If you know that, for example, in Belgium, if they don't have any proof on you that you committed atrocities or murdered somebody, you can only be judged, hear this very good, you can only be judged to 5 years in jail for taking part in a terrorist group. Only 5 years. Back in the US, that would be multiply that.
Yeah, I think more than 10 years in the US. Yeah.
Sorry?
I think more than 10, 15 years.
Yeah, around 15 to 20 or something. I'm not a specialist, but it's like discrepancies not only between the US and the West, the Western Europe, I mean, and, but also in between European communities is very, very big. And not even the mindset is the same. Like, for example, we here in Belgium, we took some nationalities from foreign fighters with double nationalities, but I know about this particular case of this British lady, Shamima Begum, who was supposed to have also a Bengali nationality, and the British took her nationality away, and now she's, according to the Bengalis, she's now stateless. That's something we can't do. So we have several issues to deal with, and we have to agree on a supranational level on what to do with them, on how to deal with them, on how to punish them, or where to lock them up. Should we lock them up here in our respective countries, or should we lock them up in some kind of a facility like Guantanamo Bay, for example?
So, I mean, there is surely a legal and also a social limbo here, what we are talking about. And does ISIS have any say in this narrative? Do they use what is going on now with the families? Do they use this as a propaganda tool?
Officially, no. Basically, the ISIS media has quasi stopped reporting since it is still going on, but it is on a very, very slow level right now since the Battle of Baghuz began. What makes me think that a lot of ISIS media operatives would be inside that small enclave. Officiously, yes. If you look at, for example, there are still some ISIS supporters on Twitter. They cover up, of course, very good. They pretend to be just righteous Muslims, not ISIS supporters. But basically what they say is, by not taking back the women, by separating the children from their mothers, for example, by extraditing the ones held in Syria to Iraq to get them sentenced to death, well, that's problematic. And they say you will breed a next generation of terrorists. Be aware of that. And I think they might be right, indeed.
And so here comes the big question. I mean, what we're seeing now in Syria and all this talk about the last battle with ISIS in Syria, the last enclave, the last piece of land they have, they are about to being annihilated and everybody is going to be taken into custody. Is it true? I mean, is ISIS really finishing physically and ideologically?
No, not at all. The problem is that we don't know exactly how many ISIS fighters still remain and where they are. There's enough desert in Syria and Iraq where they can hide out. There are provinces in Iraq that are being heavily attacked again since the beginning of this year again, especially the province of Anbar. In Syria, we do see attacks on a daily basis. For example, today we had an attack again in Idlib province on Hayat Tahrir al-Sham and other rebel groups within that province. So that basically means that the ISIS fighters that have been driven out of the Azor province are now spreading around the country, hiding in smaller cells and attacking whenever they can. And ideologically, the Islamic State is far from that. It's basically an ideology that has been built on, you can call it the twisted vision of the Al-Qaeda ideology, in a way, and basically this has been propagated for so intensively and for so long a time right now. And there's so much material still out there that it would basically, in my idea, be virtually impossible to destroy the Islamic State ideologically. We need a long, continuous effort in countries like France, Belgium, Holland, whatever, to regain the trust of these people in Muslim communities who have turned their back on us. And there are still people here in Belgium, in Holland, in France, name it whatever you want. There are still people here who are wanting to do something in the name of the Islamic State.
And what is the ISIS leadership? I'm going to ask, what are they doing right now?
Who knows? Hiding behind a rock in the desert. Who knows? We have no idea. ISIS was centrally led. Very clearly, it was also the media was very centrally led, and it was distributed from one point, and then it went like a spider web to all over the world. Right now, it's more like there are different separate cells operating. Although the central media, I must say, the Amaq and Nashir news media, still is centrally led somehow. Don't ask me how, but it's still happening. But it's been a long time that we heard of Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, not so long in a way, but still long. The daily photo reports, the daily videos, those are not all gone, but virtually they drop to a very, very low level nowadays.
And this silence, I mean, does this mean that the West or whoever is fighting ISIS is now actually winning, or I mean, this war is definitely going to drag on?
Basically, what the West has never really understood what they were fighting. They were at first they were thinking they were fighting a terror group, then they thought they were fighting an army. Yeah, indeed, it was an army, but they just look at the physical idea of a physical caliphate with a physical state of territory they control, and where they can basically they tax the people living there. They use the wealth of these territories they control to organize attacks abroad, like, for example, Paris and Brussels attacks. But the Islamic State right now has basically just returned to its former tactics of basically being a terrorist insurgency group, nothing more than that. And nothing at all is pointing out that the Islamic State has been defeated or that they will be gone in any time soon. So I expect this to be a re-emerging problem for the next couple of decades, basically. It's like Al-Qaeda, how Al-Qaeda evolved. Al-Qaeda started slowly, then reached the top, then went down again. It's like a continuous wave of re-emerging insurgency, re-emerging attacks. So it's going to take a long time for the West to completely deal with this problem.
Pieter, thank you very much for joining us. I think it was a very good discussion. And I wish you also good luck for tomorrow's panel, which you're going to have in the European Parliament.
Yeah,
and ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. Tonight we discussed the ISIS fighters' families and children and why countries, especially in Europe, did not want to have them back. Good night.